Welcome to Globalpose News. Republican Mike Johnson survived a razor-thin vote to remain House Speaker in a drama-filled, highly anticipated vote that marked the start of complete Republican control in Washington. Johnson could only afford to lose 2 votes because of the tight margin of control Republicans have in Congress. While he came close to losing re-election, he survived the vote after some lobbying. President-elect Donald Trump previously endorsed Johnson for the role of House Speaker, saying the win for Mike today will be a big win for the Republican Party. The House Speaker is one of the most powerful posts in Washington, controlling the lower chamber of the U.S. Congress, and second in line to the presidency after the Vice President. Johnson, a Louisiana Republican, was backed by nearly all Republicans in his bid for re-election. But that success was not without some controversy. The vote for Speaker requires a candidate to receive the support of a majority of the House, 218 votes. But because of a razor-thin Republican majority in the House, Johnson could only stand to face opposition from 2 Republicans. Johnson already faced one hard no from Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky. "You can pull all my fingernails out. You can shove bamboo up in them. You can start cutting off my fingers. I am not voting for Mike Johnson," Massie said Thursday in a television interview. Several other Republicans had put themselves in the undecided column heading into the vote. During the initial votes, 3 of those undecided Republicans voted for other lawmakers over Johnson, preventing him from reaching the 218 votes he needed. 3 lawmakers, Massie, South Carolina Congressman Ralph Norman and Texas Congressman Keith Self, named other options to serve as the next speaker. That led Johnson to flee the House floor and lobby members to back him. Some 45 minutes later, he returned to the House chamber. Both Norman and Self changed their votes to back Johnson. The gavel struck and Johnson won re-election. Norman told reporters after the election that he changed his vote after speaking with Johnson in a room outside the House chamber. He said Johnson told him there would be more conservatives at the table during negotiations, fewer deals made between congressional and committee leadership without outside input from other lawmakers, and enough time to read bill text before votes are scheduled. "When we left that small room, he convinced me and Keith, Self," Norman said. Johnson said, "I will do that, just give me the chance." He knew and I knew if it went to the second ballot it was going to get tougher and tougher. Another player got involved throughout the 10th Speaker election, President-elect Donald Trump. Norman spoke with Trump twice during the Speaker vote. The first time was when fellow Republican Nancy Mace of South Carolina handed him her phone to speak with the President-elect. The second was while meeting with Johnson, Self and several others. "Trump is as enthusiastic," Norman said of the call with the President-elect. He said, "Norman, we have the most opportunity we've ever had, the House, Senate, a trifecta, you don't get that opportunity." I said, "Mr. President, I agree with you, I'm just hoping Mike has got the oomph to pull this off." Norman said the President-elect also said Johnson is the only one who has the likability to win the Speaker election. Self told reporters after the vote that he spoke with Trump before and after the Speaker election. He said he changed his mind when Johnson pledged there would be more members, including from the far-right House Freedom Caucus, at the negotiating table. "We shored up the reconciliation team because we know that this will be a heavy lift to get the Trump agenda across the line in the reconciliation line," he said. Friday marked the first day of the 119th Congress. Republicans have unified control of Washington, with majorities in both the House and Senate, and with Trump returning to the White House later in January. During his acceptance speech, Johnson said that this Congress would champion the idea of America First, a slogan promoted by Trump. After Trump's re-election, he said Americans are demanding their interests are put first again. "And we will," Johnson said. Voting in a new speaker is the first requirement of the new session of Congress, and without that leader in place, the chamber cannot move on to any other function. This has led to chaos in the past, including when former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy had to go through 15 rounds of voting before he was confirmed to the leadership post. Minutes before the vote on Friday, Johnson posted on X several of his plans. If elected, he promised to create a working group comprised of independent experts to work with the Department of Government Efficiency (DOGE) that Trump named Tesla CEO Elon Musk and Republican Vivek Ramaswamy to lead. That working group, he said, would review existing audits of federal agencies and entities created by Congress and issue a report. If we want to restore fiscal responsibility, we must start by being transparent about the dollars that are spent, address the issues we find, and then hold those accountable who have misspent funds, Johnson wrote. For more updates, news, views from around the globe, follow us on all our social media platforms at Globalpose.